On this episode of the Procedurally Generated Show, Ethan controls the wind and Tony swings through New York. We're also joined by Noah Copeland, developer of a Sonic fan remake. Well, howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Procedurally Generated Show. I'm your host, Tony, and joining me this week, I've got Ethan.
Hey, Tony.
What's up, sir?
That.
Okay. People can see you pointing to the sky now.
Except for those listening to the audio version, I apologize. I'm pointing at a kitten on my bed.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that too. I can't see the kitten. The window's too small on my screen. So, what's going on in your world today?
Not much.
Yeah,
Played some video games. That's about it.
I played some video games as well. We recorded an interview.
Yeah, that was cool.
I drove to Tulsa in the 100-degree weather with no air conditioning. That was fun.
I don't recommend doing that ever.
No, I don't recommend it at all. But when you don't have any air conditioning and you need to drive over an hour someplace, you kind of have to. So,
Is it like because the AC is broken, or is it out of like
the
the?
AC. I've never owned a vehicle in the last 15 years that had air conditioning in it. So I've gotten used to it, and
Okay.
I just drive with
It
it.
was just one of those where I was wondering, is like, did it just run out of the coolant liquid in there? Or...
No, I've tried recharging it, and that just doesn't work. There's something actually wrong with
Okay.
the air conditioner. So I've learned to live with it. One of these days, though, I will own a vehicle that's not 12 or 13 years old and has working air conditioning. Um,
Yeah, that's always nice to have.
I might be 70 when it happens, but eventually it will happen, and I will love the day that it does. So, Cole is not with us today. Unfortunately, he is out this week. He will be back, should be back next week. So it's just the two of us. You get to go first this week. What have you been playing?
So I alluded to it last time or last week,
Mm-hmm.
while Peach was crying the whole time. Zelda Wind Waker HD.
Okay.
Started it up, had that battery, got that put into the gamepad. It kind of lasted like 3 hours, which is still kind of short, but it's a little longer than what it was lasting with the original battery in the gamepad.
I think that's about right for the gamepad, though.
Not really. It's a little. It should be able to go, I think, 4 hours. I think it's been a few years since I had one that worked properly. Uh, I think it wasn't actually fully charged though. Like the light wasn't on for it charging, but still getting energy. It's like at a point where it's like, hey, this is pretty much full, but
Yeah.
not. And so I basically had it charged for like overnight and stuff. And I played for an hour today and just had one bar go down on the meter. So yeah,
That seems pretty decent.
yeah.
I've replaced the battery in the gamepad before, so I don't remember it lasting more than about 3 or 3.5 hours. But, it's an easy process, thankfully, if you can get a hold of the batteries, which I think aren't too terribly expensive. They're like what, $15 or $20
Oh
on
yeah,
Amazon.
this it was like $10 during the Prime thing on there.
Oh wow,
Prime
yeah,
days that they had. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I need a battery. This gives me an excuse to play Zelda without having 1 hour of wireless freedom.
I use the Pro controller for Zelda, so I never use the inventory management and stuff on Zelda with the
Would
gamepad.
my would my Switch Pro controller work on it?
I don't think so. I don't think the controller can go backwards. It might, but I doubt it.
Hmm.
I really wish that the Wii U Pro controller would work with the Switch. And I know there are ways to do it, but I wish it would just work natively. Because
Right.
I love the Wii U Pro controller.
You're weird.
I know. I but that is one of my favorite controllers of all time is that Wii U Pro controller. It seemed weird at first, the way the sticks are aligned, but after a while I got really used to it and I liked the stick position on on that Pro controller.
Okay. As for Wind Waker itself, I did stream what I was playing on there today. I finished the Dragon Roost dungeon where
Hmm.
you go and fight Queen Goma or whatever she is
Yeah.
under Hooktail's tail. And I did quite horrible.
Yeah,
It's like it's like I can't hurt her. It's like, what am I missing? Then the hint comes up and it's like, hey, you need to latch on to something. I'm like, that's right, there's a tail.
hmm. Yep.
Whoops. And did that, beat her. Got into the forest temple after some sailing and stuff, and decided to just end the stream there because it took about an hour and a half to do all that.
Yeah. I really, really like that game. It is one of my favorite Zeldas.
Oh, it's super adorable, and the HD version's like less cel shaded and seems more like you're looking at, you know how like whenever we got Link's Awakening
Hmm.
remaster or remake or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like we're looking at toys. Every so often you get like this little thing. It's like that's not cel shaded. That's like you're looking at a 3-dimensional toy model
Hmm.
almost, but not quite on that level.
Yeah.
So the lighting is definitely different in comparison.
I don't
Uh,
mind the change though. I know a lot of people didn't really like it. They thought it was too much of a change from the original, but I think it worked really well, and it's not hard to go back to the GameCube version. I just prefer that
yeah, yeah,
HD look over the SD version of the game.
yeah. And like if anything, the reason to go back to the GameCube version would be the Tingle Tuner. Hook up a GBA to your console and
Yeah,
have some fun. And apparently that thing is massively broken for speedruns.
really.
Yeah, you just get the money on there and someone can like watch some speedruns, especially like the GDQ speedrun that happened recently. Amazing.
Yeah, and I know for the Wii U version, that whole thing is just useless now. I mean, because it doesn't have the Tinkle Tuner, and then they replaced it with the bottles, and those don't even work. I think at this point.
Yeah, it's like by the time I even got around to playing Twilight Princess, it was like, yeah, this thing's not working anymore, so the stamps are useless.
I I wonder if they're gonna eventually put this game on Switch. I know uh, we had the HD remake on Wii U, but because of the way that system sold, I wonder if they will eventually put those that and Twilight Princess on the Switch.
I don't think it would be that hard for them to port it. I wonder if they could do something like what they did with Mario, the 3D collection.
To put them both together in one package.
Well, they could do Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. I don't know how big those files are. I mean,
Well,
let's
they're
see,
GameCube games, so well,
game, eh, depending which route they take. If they go with the HD collections or if they go with the GameCube
I mean, even
versions.
still, I think on the Wii U they're not that big.
Yeah, since the system maxed out at 32 gigabytes, they probably still gave us games that could fit on a regular DVD.
Of course, you know, Nintendo being Nintendo, what they would do would be to put one of them on the cartridge, and then you have to download the other one.
I don't know. They gave us Sunshine and Galaxy and 64 on the cart.
That's true. That's true. I'd love to see these games come to the Switch, but I don't want them to do like the big deal. Like we've got to delay Breath of the Wild 2, so here's Wind Waker HD. I mean, it would
You can
already
only get
be
it for this day until the moon goes down and the goats cry.
But what I'm
What?
saying is, I want them to just say, you know what, these games are coming, but I don't want this to be. I want if their next remakes, whatever they do, to be something like um, the Game Boy games, the Oracle games. I want those to get like their next big, and when they do, if they do another remaster, I want it to be those games.
Yeah, I could easily go for the Oracle games in the Awakening style. Man, that would
Yes,
be it'd
because
be fantastic.
those games followed that art style so closely, it would make sense to just take that, you know, not that engine, but that visual style and do the Oracle games in that same look.
Yeah,
I would love it.
and you get to see all those new characters in the engine as well, like the kangaroo and the. I think you get to ride a Dodongo or something in there. I forget what he is.
I know there's a
And then
bear.
yeah, the bear with the tiny wings that can hover for moments.
Yep.
And then all your little seed shots and the people in the dark worlds.
Love it.
It'd be interesting. But yeah, so just basically Wind Waker. We private stream, not private, well, person with Jason and Stuart mostly.
Yeah.
We did finish Observation Duty 4.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
After our group stream that we did Wednesday? No.
Yeah.
What day did we do that?
It had to have been a Wednesday.
There was like all six of us, or no, last week, five of us in there doing it. That's what it was.
Yeah.
We went back in. We finished the police station.
Okay.
It took a few tries. I think Jason's got Observation Duty 5 downloaded now.
How many games are there?
5. Just 5. 5 came out like last month. So
Okay.
we're not going to play 3. We tried that. I knew it was bad going in. I told them there's a reason no one plays it. And so you take one look at it and it's like, yeah, this is why no one plays this.
Yeah, 3 was bad.
Ooh, bad. Ooh. Bad's being polite. But we'll start Observation Duty 5. We still need to get the secret ending in 4, which is quite unfortunate because it is random.
Really?
It is just a completely random occurrence to get it. The other ones, you had to, like, the first game, you had to wait until a certain time, click on this thing and on this one level, on this one camera, and it'll tell you a hint, and it's like, okay, the hint is this, and it tells you where to go with that knowledge. And then you go and do this report, you get a special report with password. You type in the password, and it's like, all right, here's your secret ending. Mm-hmm. 2, it was like, all right, well, you click on this painting. All right, now the ghost is free. Now find the ghost. You find her here. It's like, all right, now find the body. All right, find the body here. It's like, all right, now go over here. And it's like, okay. That's super simple in comparison.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is in 3 because that would require playing it.
Nobody wants to do that.
Exactly. And then 4. just RNG. Just RNG gods are like, hey,
yeah,
no, you're not getting it right now.
The only thing about 4 that was just bizarre was that dude sitting in the chair the one time. That's just messed up.
Yeah, that was messed up.
The dude with the third arm, and I never want to see that again in my entire life.
We're not going to explain anything on that. Go watch the stream and find out for yourself. So yeah, that's pretty much my week right there of what I played.
Okay. Well, let's see. I have been playing something a little different because I have PS Plus now for at least the month.
Yeah.
So where's Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
I have not played that game because I don't buy a lot of stuff on my PlayStation. I just occasionally, there are a few things that I like to play. Most of my stuff is on the Xbox and the Switch anymore. But because I had Plus, I figured I have no excuse not to play this game at this point, and I am very glad I have started. I've probably played the first hour of the game.
I'm betting you're getting Infamous vibes from it.
I really am. It's one of those things that, just like in Infamous, it was so much fun to just travel around in that city. Uh,
Yeah.
the powers in Infamous really let you do some crazy fun stuff, and the web swinging in this is just incredibly fun to do. Like they give you so many different things to play around with momentum and change of direction,
Yeah.
and it's just insanely fun to figure out the kinds of stuff you can do. And I have gotten many times gotten so high in the air that I can't do anything until I come back down. Because it does seem that if you get to the point where you're higher than the buildings around you, you can't swing, which makes sense.
Yeah, they put a lot of care and love into that. It's like there's not a building here, you're not webbing onto it, which you can play like some of the older games, and it's like, yeah, I'm just swinging over Central Park. It's like, what are you webbing onto? There's no buildings
Yeah,
here,
there's only
and
trees, and you're 50 feet above the trees, so there's no way you can swing on those.
like shooting web up into space, hitting satellites and swinging from them or something.
Yeah, but even still, when you're up above the buildings, they still give you ways to use the webs to interact with the stuff that's around you, and you can, look down towards the ground and do a thing that will pull you and vault you forward so that you can get down closer to the ground, or you can dive and get down faster so that you're down below the tops of the buildings and you can start your swings again. And it's just so much fun to traverse that world.
Yeah, and as you level up, you can gain more travel abilities as well. Like I think you have a thing where you do like an air burst forward or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've gotten that. You get it where you can like do it twice in a row, like before you even have to web anything.
Really?
So it's like, all right, I got some momentum, burst, and then web and keep going and just refresh it.
Yeah. And that then translates into the combat, which we've talked about over the last couple of weeks because of other games that people have been playing. Um, and the combat is just so well done. Like I love the Batman Arkham Asylum combat, and this feels like a really really natural progression to that. And but because Spider-Man is so much more acrobatic than Batman is, they have to do things to make that, fit into the combat. And you have so many different options, like the ability to just web someone, shoot little balls of web and stick
Mm-hmm.
someone to a wall so that they can't move, or you can, clog up their guns so that they can't shoot at you and they have to take a few seconds to, clear that off the gun before they can start attacking you again. Throwing people up in the air, vaulting off of the top of them, or, sliding through their legs in the middle of a combo. It's just, there's so much stuff to do, and you feel like Spider-Man. It's a really, really well done combat system.
Yeah, it it gets better with as you go through there. Like you learn your combos, you learn. It's like, okay, well, I know webbing them to a wall is like the quickest way to take someone out. You figure out how to juggle, you figure out how to combo a whole group of people,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have all your abilities like the science stuff in the suit to just massively take out groups. Like I think there's the I think he has a shockwave thing that he does where he just launches everyone.
Yeah.
So if I'm like finding a group of people on a roof or something, it's like pop down, get them in front of me, do that burst, and they go flying off the roof. And I think they like auto web to walls or something. Occasionally, you get the one that doesn't, and it's kind of weird because they may or may not live through the fall. But Spider Man's not a killer, so
Yeah, I
yeah,
just I just got the one that lets you do. I think they call it like the impact web or something, and it will, you can shoot that at them and it hits them and it pushes them back to against a wall or something, and then it webs them and sticks them to the wall.
that's very handy.
Yeah, that came in handy during the Fisk fight early on, because that was, I had to do that one two or three times.
Mm.
Just trying to figure out the best ways to go at enemies, because they throw so many different types of guys at you. They've got, guys with guns, guys with shields that can't be attacked from the front. Then you got Wilson Fisk, who's charging around like a rhinoceros, and if he gets anywhere close to you, that's bad news.
Yeah, he's basically like Juggernaut, but not extreme like that.
Exactly. So yeah, I am absolutely in love with this game, and very glad I played it. And I'm probably going to end up just buying it so I have a copy of it, um, so that I can play it whenever I want. And if I get done with this in time, I may go right into Miles Morales. I don't know. There's a couple of other games on PlayStation that on Plus that I want to play right now as well, since I have the Plus subscription. Um,
Uh, Mile, Miles Morales game, it's technically shorter, but it still covers that entire map area from the first game.
yeah,
And I think I spoiled it for you. I said like you don't get as many gadgets, but you have abilities,
yeah.
like actual powers that Peter doesn't have. So
I'm
like
really curious to see how they make the two Spider-Man characters feel different from each other.
there's a very distinct difference, but at the same time they feel similar enough where it's just, all right, I got to play this way now, but I still like your webbing and all that still feels the same, like swinging and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I don't know anything about these characters other than what has been in like the movies. So, um, into
Yeah,
the into
you're
the
pretty much caught up. There you go.
Into the Spider Verse is the if it's not Peter Parker, that's the only other characters I know anything about because I don't read comics very much, so I don't have that deep knowledge of Spider-Man from the comic books. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah, that's fair.
this game is so good. Like I I'm kind of hating that I took this long to play it, but um, now that I have, it's been an incredibly fun experience. So
I'm really glad you're enjoying it, and that whole infamous vibe thing that I was saying, it's like it's in there. It really is. It's pretty awesome,
yeah,
and you'll feel that even more so with the Miles Morales because it's like, okay, now this is like I've got new abilities, and this is how it plays now.
okay, well, all right. But that has been it for me. Aside from a ton more Flight Simulator, I've been picking random destinations and doing short little 15 or 20-minute flights. So like one day I picked just some random place in China and picked another place that was like 15 minutes away, and I'm just
Yeah.
doing short little 15-minute flights around the world. I've thought maybe about doing like a cross country flight series on the YouTube channel, and just once a week picking picking a starting point on the East Coast and picking an ending point on the West Coast, and then just one day a week doing like an hour long flight until I get all the way across the country. So
Okay.
we'll see if that if I end up doing that. But that's now that I've got access to Flight Simulator because I have a Series X, I've been playing a lot more of that game, and wanting to see the country. Because one of the things I had done this week was I took a flight over Germany, and was struck by just how different that area looks compared to like the middle of the country here, where when I'm
Mhm.
flying around Oklahoma, I'll leave a city and then it'll be many minutes before I see another bit of civilization.
Right.
And flying around Germany, it's just little village here, and you can see at any point there's like 7 or 8 just little villages that are clearly separate spaces, but they're close enough that it's a 5-minute car ride from this village to the next village, and it's interesting to see how different those spaces are, even though they're somewhat similar to each other in terms of climate, vegetation, and such. So,
Hmm.
uh, Flight Simulator's been a little bit educational in that respect. Um, there's a couple other places that I want to try out. One thing I wish you could do is fly around Antarctica, but there are no airports where nobody lives. So,
Can you actually like fly to that area though?
I don't know. I haven't tried. I would assume you can, because you can pick any random spot on the globe and just start flying from there. So,
Okay.
uh, I'll have to check that out. Maybe after the podcast, I'll check that out and see if you can do that. Because I assume you can, but I don't know for sure.
Interested in finding out now.
Me too.
It's like, what are they going to do? Throw a wall up in the way and say nope?
An invisible wall around Antarctica. You can't go here. This place is off limits. So yeah, that's what I've been playing this week. So let's take a quick break, and then we will spend a few minutes chatting with Noah Copeland about his upcoming project where he's remaking Sonic Triple Trouble for the Sega Genesis. All right, and as promised, joining us right now, we have Noah Copeland. He is the developer of Sonic Triple Trouble, not the original. That distinction goes to Sega. He is working on a fan remake of the game. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great. Happy to be talking about Sonic.
This is a good timely interview because I think just a couple of weeks ago you mentioned or announced the release date of the game coming up, and it's here in the first week of August.
That's right, August 2nd. Be here before you know it. Certainly here before I know it.
I imagine it's both a stressful and an exciting time all at the same time.
Oh yes, that is probably the best way to put it. Stressful because I'm like, all right, time to fix all those bugs I've been procrastinating on, but also such a release. I've been working on this for 5 years. Five whole years. So to finally be at the finish line at graduation is like, yes, thank you, Lord.
I know that feeling. My wife is a writer, and so whenever it's coming up to the time for a book release, I know she gets super excited and super nervous about what people are going to think about, the book that's coming out. So I imagine it's the exact same type of thing if you've got a game that you've been working on and putting your passion into.
That's the other thing too. Is it's good that we've had 2 demos come out previously before this. And they've been at Sage, which is the Sonic Amateur Games Expo. If you don't know, the Sonic fan game scene is insanely dedicated. They have their own online expos and stuff. So a lot of people play that. Got a lot of feedback from that. So you can kind of start developing your skin a little bit in terms of having a tough skin beforehand.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us a little bit about what Sonic Triple Trouble is? I know this is a remake of a previously released game, I think for the Game Gear.
This is correct, yes. Yeah, so Sonic Triple Trouble came out on Sega's 8-bit competitor to the Game Boy called the Game Gear. And I think Triple Trouble was probably the best game of the Sonic handheld titles to come out on Game Gear because it was the closest, in my opinion, to achieving what was on the Genesis. They couldn't quite do it because it was weaker hardware, but it was really trying to capture what was done on the Sega Genesis Mega Drive games that we grew up with and know and love. And that's why I wanted to remake Triple Trouble. I was like, it was so close. What if we just full went Genesis with it and made it look and feel like a Genesis game? So that's what Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit is all about. That's why I throw the little 16-bit on the end there just to conjure up the feelings of like the Sega Genesis, the Mega Drive. So it's a reimagining like that set after the events of Sonic 3, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, that was one of the other things I was wondering about was why Sonic Triple Trouble and not one of the other games that maybe is a little more well-known. Maybe it's because those have been remade to death at this point, or just what was it about Triple Trouble that drew you to that as a project?
I think I really thought it was the one that would translate the best to Genesis, right? It was the one that was closest already, so it just made the most sense. And also, naively, I thought, well, since it was closest, that'll make it the easiest, and I'll get it done really quick. And here we are 5 years later, and I'm like, yeah, it was easy is not the word I would use to describe this process.
So what exactly has gone into that process of remaking the game? Have you been able to use parts of it in that development? I don't know anything about game development myself, aside from the fact that it's really hard to do, and the fact that any game ever comes out is a miracle.
Honestly, that's all you need to know, and that's more than most people know. So I thank you for that. But to answer your question, it's kind of funny. It started where I was like, okay, there's level maps online for the original Triple Trouble. I'll just take those. 8-bit is half of 16-bit. I will just double them in size, and then that will be good, and just draw over them with like better art and stuff. The thing that didn't work is that Sonic's controls and physics and feeling on the Game Gear games is very different than on the Genesis. Sonic jumps like maybe 3 times as tall as he does on the Genesis games.
He's really
Um,
floaty.
yeah, he's really floaty. Exactly. So those levels were designed with that in mind. So you take Genesis Sonic, slap him in Triple Trouble levels, and it really doesn't work. So that's, again, not as easy as I thought it was. So instead, I had to do the much more hard thing of just going and just studying the absolute crap out of Sonic Triple Trouble, or sorry, the Sega Genesis Sonic games, Sonic 1, 2, and 3, and Mania, and looking at those level designs, looking at the maps, playing a lot of those games, and just going, what about this works? What makes this kind of gameplay fun? And just trying to emulate that. It's just a really iterative process of just looking at Genesis Sonic and emulating that. That's kind of the blessing and the curse of a project like this, is that you have a gold standard already, right? We've played Sonic. We know that Sonic's fun, so when I'm making my game and it's not fun, it doesn't mean that Sonic is fundamentally broken. It means that I'm not doing it right, right? Also, the curse of that is that I could find things that were fun, but were not Sonic, and it felt like I was straying too far from the strengths of Sonic. It's like I need to do what makes Sonic fun, not what makes some other game fun, if that makes sense.
How much did you have to go in, and did you have to do a lot of adjustments of the level designs, or are those fairly true to the original release?
So they're almost completely original.
Okay.
It's just sort of taking the themes and aesthetics. There's the one thing I try to stay true with is if you zoom out, if you take a zoomed out view of the original levels and a zoomed out view of my original levels, and you take one and you put them side by side, the kind of general contour of the level is kind of the same. It goes up here, and then it goes down there, and then it goes side to side here. You can kind of see there's the same general shape, but kind of what happens in between that was sort of retooled to fit Genesis Sonic better and make that fun.
Did you? Is there anything that you added to the game, mechanics
Oh,
wise,
yes.
or secrets wise that maybe wasn't in the original?
Yeah, there's actually a lot that I added that's not in the original, which sometimes was the most fun parts because I didn't have to worry about being beholden to recreating something. I could kind of just go hog wild with it. For one, there's a mechanic that's not in the original, in which you can switch between Sonic and Tails at any time. If you didn't know, the Japanese name for Sonic Triple Trouble when it came out of Japan is Sonic and Tails 2. So, because it's Sonic and Tails, you can switch between the two at any point with the press of a button, which is really fun. There's a lot of new gimmicks that weren't in there, like new level ideas, like for example, there's these flowers you can pop in and shoot out of in one level that weren't in the original. And also there's entire levels that were not in there. There was a level called Egg Zeppelin Zone, in which you hop on Dr. Robotnik's giant blimp and crash it into the ground. That was not in there, but I really wanted to make a action-heavy sort of set-piece moment, because that's sort of where Sonic was headed after Sonic 3, and so it felt right. Because in my mind, this game is sort of a hypothetical Sega Genesis game that should have come out in 1995 but didn't. And that's sort of the framework we took when doing that, which was really handy because if you ever look at a console's lifestyle, launch games look primitive compared to late generation games, right? So because we were imagining this as a hypothetical late cycle Genesis game, it allowed us to use every Genesis sort of trick in the book. We'd look at graphic effects on Genesis and be like, okay, we could probably imitate something like that. And we didn't ever have to worry about going too far because, well, people were pros at that point anyway in 1995, in this hypothetical year that we'd be making it.
Is this like a what if Sonic 4 type thing in your mind?
That's exactly what it is. The opening, as soon as you hit start a new save file on Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit, it opens with the cutscene that is the ending cutscene of Sonic 3. So it takes up place right after it.
Okay, interesting. How close to the original hardware have you kept this? Is this something that could be played on the Genesis, or?
Cool. So yeah. So to make it very clear for everyone, this is This is not developed for Sega Genesis, so you can't stick this in like a flash card or anything.
Okay.
Because let's be honest, programming for a game console that came out in 1989 is really stinking hard. And it took me 5 years to do it on modern, convenient tools. I can only imagine it would have been like to do it on the Genesis. Plus, this allows people, doing it this way, allows people to play it on just any modern machine, and they don't have to fiddle around with emulators and stuff, okay? It'll be on PC and Android as well. In case you don't have a PC, you may have some sort of mobile device that'll work it. We're looking at more platforms as well. But we were very, very faithful to the limits of the Genesis. They were self-imposed because we weren't actually developing for Genesis, but we looked at it as like, okay, Genesis, 64 colors on screen at one time, divided up into 4 palette lines of 16 colors. That's what we're working with. That's what our artists had to do to make that all happen. The music, you were on a very specific sound chip with 6 channels of FM synthesis. So me and all the guest musicians did the music. We kept it to those standards. So we never wanted more than 6 tracks playing at the same time, plus the PSG, because that would have not been possible in Genesis. There's a lot of things. It's actually made things a lot harder. There's a lot of times where like, this looks really good, but it's too much. Yeah. Can we find a way to make it work with less? And what's funny is it sometimes would make it even better. When you find a way to make it work within the limits, there's something elegant about the simplicity to it. Yeah. If that makes any sense at all.
That's one of the things that I've tried doing some like, sprite work and going back and sticking to like an original Game Boy palette and just realizing how hard that is. Because when you only have like 4 colors to work with, it's really hard to make a character stand out against a background that's the same color essentially as the character in front of it.
Yes, 100%. And it really makes you appreciate, like, you'll play some of those, like, old Genesis games or something and go, like, there's a lot of them with, like, bad art. And you're like, why does this look so bad? Why can't they look as good as, like, Rise Star or Sonic 3 does? And then you realize what a miracle it is to make something look good with so little. And you're like, okay, never mind. I understand now why it's so hard.
And Ethan, you're probably going through some of that with the stuff you're working on with, like, your development for your fan project.
Well, I got the sprite work done on mine. I just don't know how to make the levels and the backgrounds yet.
What have been some of the challenges that you've faced in the 5 years that you've been working on this game?
Ooh, everything's a challenge, man. It's hard to say. But for one is, I think, we talked about it. A big part is keeping it Genesis accurate as much as we could. It was definitely a challenge for sure, because you have to specifically do things. There's so many times where I want to do this, but I don't know if you can on Genesis. And I would watch in a lot of my downtime, watch just hours and hours of footage of Sega Genesis games or go play Genesis games. And every now and then I'd see something, I'm like, right there. That's the effect I was wanting to do. Okay, so it is possible. All right, cool. And the other thing is just learning how to make a game entirely. I've helped on some fan games before, but I've never really done one pretty much like mostly by myself. I've had a lot of help from artists, but in terms of the design and most of the programming, it's all been me, and design is so important. I was like, when I started this, I'm like, all right, I can get this done in maybe a year or something like that, and here we are 5 years later. The way I like to think of it is that it's taken me about 5 years to do it. Some people take around, 4 or 5 years to get a bachelor's degree. So I like to think that I have an honorary degree in game design from the school of just learning to freaking do it. So August 2nd, to me, is my commencement, graduation ceremony. It's like, all right, I did it. I can make a game. I know how to do it. I can move on and make something else.
Have you had any pushback? I know fan games typically, especially if they're related to Nintendo properties, have a tendency to disappear halfway through development. Have you had any? But I know Sega's been generally pretty open and okay with people messing with their stuff. Have you had any issue with Sega at all during the development of the game?
Sega is very much a good guy, Greg, when it comes to Sonic fan games. Like, their whole thing is, typically with what we've seen, they really don't care as long as you're not trying to make money off it or monetize it or anything. They're like, if you just put it up for free, it's a fan game, Yeah. If you start charging for it, that's a bootleg. That's different, And so they really have been pretty perceptive. They obviously can't promote fan games because that's kind of weird, but I've had interactions with current and former Sega employees who are just like on their personal accounts. They're just like, hey, I saw your project. It looks pretty cool. I mean, that's the best thing you can want, right? And as long as I play by the rules and I'm not trying to go out there and be like, subscribe to my Patreon or whatever, then I got nothing to worry about. And that's not what I set out to do.
Yeah.
This is a passion project from day one. It was gonna be free from day one, and that's what it is, you know?
Yeah. What led you to want to work on a fan project versus something maybe original? Because I know a lot of people that me personally, I guess it just seems like it's one of those things that I've done something, I've played a game, I really like it, I want to do more in that world. Is it one of those things that you look at in that sort of aspect? Why a Sonic game versus taking something original and maybe inspired by Sonic, but not necessarily Sonic himself?
Yeah, so I think it'd be two reasons. Number one, I love Sonic. I've always wanted to make my own Sonic game since I was a little kid. It's just something, when you love something, you want more of that something. You want to get involved with it, especially if you're a creative person. Yeah. That's how you think and see things. And number two, again, naively, I thought it'd be easier to make a Sonic game because, again, I know how Sonic works. I know what makes it fun. I can just make that. That'll be easier than my original game, right? I don't know. I think it's pros and cons, right? I think I've learned now. I can't wait to make my own original game now. But I think it was definitely a very good learning experience for me to start with a fan game, with something I'm passionate about and that I know people like. That's another good driving thing. If I was making my own original game and I'm sitting there every day just struggling to get it done, going like, I could release this and no one can play it. But with Sonic, you're like, at least somebody's going to play this. Yeah. People like Sonic. People send me messages like, I can't wait to see this finished. And so that helps you keeps you going, especially when you're doing it for free and not making any money. You're getting paid and people's excitement and bringing joy to people and giving them fun. And that's a jolly thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I just learned about this project a few weeks ago. Pretty much a couple of days before I messaged you the first time was the first time I had heard about it. And I had never played Sonic Triple Trouble before, but I am very excited to get my hands on this one and play through the whole game. I'm wondering if games like Mario Maker have now shown people, you said it might be easier to do a Sonic game because I know how Sonic works. But now that Mario Maker's out, I wonder if people are really starting to see just how difficult it is to make a game. Because it's easy to take those assets and just throw them on a screen and Mario can jump across a couple of Goombas and then slide down a flagpole. But that's not the same as making a Mario game. So I imagine you probably run into the same kind of stuff.
Yeah, like if you notice how many of those Mario Maker levels are fun, but they're fun in a chaotic way, and they would never be on an actual Mario game, right?
Yeah.
To make like an actual traditional level, it takes a certain degree of skill that I think a lot of people don't have. It's easier to just like throw a bunch of spinny fireballs and blah, 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 and then make it to the end, It's like, that's fine. This has its place, but to make a traditional level is, I think, much harder. So I've had nothing but so much respect for the sort of the core team of 3 developers that made the first Sonic game and how much they just figured out in that first game and got right. Specific shout out to Hirokazu Yasuhara, who was the designer. He has a whole bit about like these principles of design that make games fun that I study and try to implement very intensely because I think they just work.
Yeah. I know around here we're big fans of the AM2R remake. Are there any of those fan projects that you looked to for inspiration, or are there some that you particularly enjoy that you've played or maybe are following?
Yeah, I think AM2R was definitely one that I saw and I was just like, he's doing it, right? The dude's doing it, Because I remember hearing about it on, I think it was, I listened to the Easy Allies podcast, if you're familiar with that, which is, those are professional game journalists. And here they are talking about this fan game that just somebody made in their basement. How cool was that, So you kind of look at that and go like, that's the dream, baby, So It is motivating. And AM2R is great.
Oh, it's fantastic.
He killed it. I remember playing it and going like, this is kind of what I would like to do. Because what's so good about AM2R is that it took a handheld 8-bit game, made it look more like the 16-bit game, but also used some elements from sort of later games like Prime and Fusion, that sort of thing. That's all I'm doing. Taking my 8-bit Sonic game, making it 16-bit, but also taking influence from later games like Mania and the Advanced Series and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Aim2R is a great example.
Yeah, the other one that I like is I'm following right now is a fan remake of the N64 version of Paper Mario, and they're taking that and turning that into an HD version of the N64 game, and about 2/3 of it is done, and it's really good.
Wow, I wish them best of luck on that.
And the thing they're doing is they're giving you two different versions of it because the Paper Mario fandom is pretty split about which version of those characters are the best looking ones, whether it's the GameCube ones that have the super solid black outlines or the later ones that have the sort of white border that look more like paper. And he's giving them both of them in the same thing, and you can pick which one you would rather play.
That's always a tricky decision you have to make as a game designer. Is people love options. That's always like the default is like I can't decide what to do. It's always like, well, just put it in the options menu, but that can double a lot of work. So props to him for doing both. Sometimes that's the best decision.
Yeah, well, I think we're just about done here. If there's if people want to find out more information about the game, where can they go to find it?
Cool, yeah. So I post about it on my Twitter. That's really the first place you'll see anything. I'm at Noah in Copeland. The Game Jolt page is where you can download the demo, and that's where the download will be. So just go to GameJolt.com and search for Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit.
I will make sure to put links to both your Twitter and the game in the show notes. This will be out about a week before the game comes out, so that if people are watching, go check out that demo because it's really good. It's 4 levels, I think. I've got an entire playthrough of it up on the YouTube channel, and then
Nice.
you'll be able to just go to that same place once the game is out.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for joining us. I was very excited about this project, and I was looking forward to getting a chance to talk to you and give you a little shout out before the game came out.
Yeah, I was so happy to talk about it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
So that was really interesting learning that that's Sonic and Tails 2.
Yeah, I had no idea.
And Treble Trouble is actually a sequel to Sonic Chaos, which is Sonic and Tails. So,
yeah,
really cool.
I learned some interesting stuff during that chat. So, all right. So first up in the news this week, Ethan, the Cowabunga collection finally has a release date.
Yes, it does.
We no longer have to figure out and worry about when this game is going to come out, and we now know we will be able to play 13 classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games on August 30th of this year.
Yeah, I could have sworn they had said something like early on, like October or end of the year, somewhere in that area.
Well, I mean,
so August, I'll take August over.
I'm glad it's August and not October, actually. Because I'm very much looking forward to playing through some of these things. Like, some of them I'm not super keen on. Like, I don't care about the fighting games.
Right.
But playing through those multiplayer Turtles games together with people online is going to be a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to that. So, August 30th for the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, the Xbox One, the Series X, and the Series S, Switch, and PC. So it will be coming to all available consoles. 13 games in the package. It is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, the NES version of Turtles, Turtles in Time arcade, Turtles in Time, TMNT 4, Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo, the Hyperstone Heist, which is a Genesis game, Fall of the Foot Clan is a Game Boy game, TMNT 2, the arcade game. This is not the full list, apparently, because there are fighting games as well that are coming. I can't believe this didn't have the full list, but yeah, I'm not going to try to find that right at the moment, but 13 Turtles games, August 30th. I think is this a $30 game, or is this...
So it's TMNT2, the arcade game for NES, TMNT2, Back from the Sewers Game Boy, TMNT3, the Manhattan Project NES, TMNT3, Radical Rescue Game Boy, Tournament Fighters Genesis, Tournament Fighters SNES, Tournament Fighters NES. Several games will support online co-op, namely the arcade games, TMNT2 Arcade, TMNT3 Manhattan Project, TMNT4 Turtles in Time. Other titles will only feature local. Yeah. So I can see like Turtles in Time, the arcade version, having the online because that can do up to 4 players.
Yeah, but not the
Versus
Super Nintendo version.
Yeah, I can't see them justifying that. I mean, I wish they would, but it's only a 2-player version.
I would assume maybe the Tournament Fighters games, the fighting ones, will have online play as well.
I doubt it.
Have they not? Have they never done online versions of those games before?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, that was just NES, Genesis, and SNES.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if maybe if there were re-releases of them on newer consoles at any point that had
Nope.
online versions of them. Okay. But yeah, August 30th, we will definitely be playing it, I think. So you can look forward to some streams of that, playing with friends, because I'm very much looking forward to that. One of the other games that I've been playing this week, did not unfortunately record my own footage of it, that would have been nice, is Stray, which came to PS4 and PS5 this week. It was free for Plus members, or $30 if you bought it outright. And the game is amazingly adorable. You play as a cat wandering around in like a slightly, futuristic, dystopia type place. Lets you really get into the mind of a cat. Like, if you wonder why does a cat sometimes jump off of a table, walk around to someplace else, jump up, sniff something, and then jump back down and wander off somewhere else. Now you can do that as a cat, and you know exactly what they're thinking, because they're thinking exactly what you thought when you did that exact same thing in the game. If you haven't played it, check it out, or check out some videos, because it is very good. I think it's fairly short too. It's like 3 or 4 hours. I think if you push through it really quickly. I think some people have said it takes about 8 to get everything in the game. So I mean, it's not like a super long title. But of course, people have also been having a lot of fun with the game. Not only because it has a dedicated meow button, so you can just meow constantly at anything and everything. And then when other cats are around, you can walk up to them and interact with them. Like, you can walk up and sniff another cat, lick its face just randomly. But some modders have gotten a hold of the game, because any game that's on PC and can be modded, modders are going to have a field day with it. And one of the things that has now happened with Stray is modders have gotten a hold of it and given the cat its own voice. So you don't meow in this mod. They have taken voice clips and voice samples from Heavy Rain, and so every time you hit the meow button, the cat says, Jason.
Jason.
Just randomly, Jason. Jason. And it's not the same voice every time either. So it's like the cat has multiple voices, or maybe it's multiple cats that are, you can say it's multiple cats that all are out looking for this
yelling
person,
Jason.
Yeah. So,
I could easily see someone taking the Mario button from Luigi's Mansion.
Oh man, somebody's got to do that now, and just let the cat wander around going, Mario. I'd play that version of the game. So
I want to see it. Someone really needs to do
it. I mean, I imagine it's probably not that hard if modders have gotten within the first couple of days, have gone in and replaced the voice clips with, the Heavy Rain samples. I would imagine it can't be too difficult. If you can get a hold of the Luigi's Mansion voice
sound
samples.
files, which It's out there, I'm sure.
Oh, probably. So yeah, you should see if you can find some footage of that and just have fun watching the cats wandering around looking for this lost human being that they'll never find because he's not in the game.
Spoiler.
So, I mean, I assume. I haven't finished the game, so maybe there is somebody named Jason in the game that they eventually find, but I don't know. So, we'll see. But yeah. So, of course, and I'm sure other interesting mods will come out of the game. It's going to be a game that I think a lot of people have fun with. It's sort of taken the internet by storm since its announcement, but now that the game is out, everybody's going crazy for Stray. So
Yeah, I need to grab a copy on Steam soon.
So
And I guess my free copy on PSN or whatever.
yeah, you make sure you grab that, if nothing else. So, you have been playing a little bit of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, I believe.
Yes, I have. Only a little.
Only a little.
Yeah.
I have not picked it up yet. Have not grabbed the. I guess it's an expansion to. Is it an expansion or is it?
Yeah, it's just an expansion.
Like
It's a
straight
download
sequel?
code. Yeah, there's a download code, so you got to have the original, put in the download code, and it expands the game.
Okay.
The point of the story that the reason we're talking about this, amiibo,
Of
like
course.
with Monster Hunter Rise when it came out, there were 3 amiibo. Collector's edition came with one, the big monster one, and then it came with 2 other ones that you would have to buy separately, or you could buy all 3 separately and forget that it comes with the monster on it.
And then you have multiple amiibo.
Yeah. So then you give one to Izzy and call it a day. Anyway,
It's not like that happened or anything.
so I've been waiting for these other 2 amiibo to come out. There's DLC locked behind them. It's basically just cosmetic. Oh, stop attacking me! Basically, cosmetic outfits.
Okay.
Not a cat clawing into my foot or anything. So it's not game breaking. It's just annoying because we get one amiibo. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the other 2? And it was just like there was a hush order or something put out on these things. No one knew anything. But it seems like actually had the link opened up and I need to get back to it. It looks like we're getting closer to getting them. Like Nintendo Australia / New Zealand confirmed that they're getting theirs August 12th.
Okay.
Amazon of Japan is saying US delivery dates for ours will be September 4th. Like if you're importing from Amazon Japan.
Yeah.
And so we're still waiting on a US release date, but yeah, Play Asia's a thing.
It is a thing.
I mean these I'm missing 2 amiibo out of the collection right now of Monster Hunter. There was even 3 that were part of the Stories 2. What do you want, Cat? Come here. Stories 2.
Yeah.
So, and those are usable on both. They were usable between both games. So,
Okay. Yeah.
for outfits and stuff.
That's been fairly common with the monster.
And Izzy says he has the amiibo in his shrine of Ethan. Thank you, Izzy.
Why does he have a shrine of Ethan? That's
we
the
don't
question.
we don't ask him. We just
Okay.
I just say what he said in chat.
Well, okay. So yeah, Monster Hunter. Of course, that it's been fairly common that every Monster Hunter release gets amiibo.
Yeah, the first Monster Hunter amiibos we got were 6 of them that were part of Stories on the 3DS, and I imported all of those, and they work on the US version. There was no US amiibos for that game at all.
It's true.
So it was like content that was locked behind there that you get access to by having Japanese amiibo for some reason.
It's been the one game that's been fairly consistent with amiibo releases outside of Smash Brothers, because now that the Wii U is sort of finished, amiibos have almost been forgotten, I think, by people for the most
More or
part.
less, yeah.
I mean, aside from the Smash run, of course, they're going to give you all the Smash amiibo. Um, but I kind of wish other games were still doing it because they're fun little collectibles to have.
It's basically your NFTs for Nintendo.
But at least they're physical
Yeah,
products,
yeah.
which is, better than an NFT because at least when you're buying an amiibo, you're getting something that's actually, a real thing.
And then you can turn around and sell it for a ridiculous amount.
Exactly. And then, crazy people like me buy amiibo that they don't need. Even though I've got nowhere near a complete set of any of the ones. I wanted to get a complete set of the Zelda ones and ended up never getting all of those because they were hard to find and ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, I think I need like the 3 heroes, and I think I'll have them all, but I don't know.
Like if they had done Dragon Quest amiibo,
Oh my goodness.
I would have spent all of the money. And
Just be an early adopter and you're fine.
so, yeah, but the problem was I could never get to a store whenever they were on sale or, pre-orders were being done or anything like that. So, yeah. But, yeah. So there you go. Monster Hunter amiibo coming. Whether they're coming here or not, we'll find out. So, and then lastly, some surprise additions to Switch Online happened this week.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. We got 3 more games for Switch Online for both the Super Nintendo. Not 3 for the Super Nintendo and 3 for the NES, but a total of 3 games for the Super Nintendo and the NES. And those are Fighter's History, Kirby's Avalanche, and Diva Story 6 Imperial of Nisartia, which I have never heard of that game.
I'm surprised you were able to even pronounce that. We don't know if it's correct, but close enough, right?
It's close enough for, for our needs. Never heard of that one. Fighter's History, I swear I've heard of that one at some point. But cannot just place it in my head as to what that game is. The only one I recognized just straight away was Kirby's Avalanche.
I can tell you it's not Double Dragon 2.
No, it's not Double Dragon 2. That's already on there, so I mean they don't need to release that one again.
Still need to try that game.
I should play a little bit of it as well, because I do want to do the race at some point with Double Dragon 2. Kirby's Avalanche here is looking a lot like Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Oh, so it's just Puyo Puyo.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
So, but yep, 3 just brand new, sort of obscure titles just out of the blue. Nintendo's like, here you go, have some more. So it's good that we're at least getting some more, even if they're not.
It's just I wonder who's sitting around Nintendo and be like, you know what game I really want on this? And like, what do you want, Steve? And it's like, Diva Story 6. And they're like, oh, okay.
I've never heard of this game. What is
It's
it?
like, oh, it's really good. It's like this game is like, yeah, whatever, just put it on there. It's not like we got anything else important.
Yeah, as long as we've got the license for it, just whatever. I don't care. They just want more games. Give them more games and they'll be happy. But so yeah. But there you go. That is going to be it for the show this week. So thank you very much, Peach, for joining us.
No, I don't have her collar on her, so she is purring right now quite a lot.
And thank you very much, Ethan, as well.
And thank you very much, Tony, for being here.
I'm glad I was able to host. Cole should be back.
Okay.